Good afternoon. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you had a decent weekend. We had an interesting weekend. I always talk about how quiet, how safe this community is here. And yesterday we actually had a drive-by, and it was quite exciting. Tons of carnage left behind from the drive-by, and we do have a suspect. We did, well, I'll be honest, Blue was on it right from the start. So, but anyway, we did have a drive-by, and this was the damage left. The sisters came by and drive-by hearted our door, and that was pretty awesome. So. I'll tell you what, that put one heck of a smile on my face, and we've got to get them back in here for another discussion. Sister Hanson, and I'm so sorry if I say this name wrong, but Sister Fuji, and I might be saying that wrong. I'll have to ask her again how her name's pronounced for sure. I'm a stickler on that. If like I'm personally speaking to you, I want to say your name correctly. I want to address you correctly. I'm OCD about that. I've got a guy I know that I've done ultralight aviation with. He's a power paraglider instructor, and he spells his name, or the way that it's given to us that he spells. I don't know if it's the actual spelling, but it's Jiri, and it's pronounced something like Yurji. And I can't quite do the click with my tongue because I'm just not acclimated that way. But that's how you say his name. And he's Czech. And that's how you say his name. And I was always a stickler about trying to get his name right. But anyway, that's neither here nor anywhere else. I got one other thing that I want to talk about before we dive into any news, and hopefully, Steve, you catch this at some point. There is a documentary series, if you will, on Netflix right now. Maybe some of you are aware of it. I don't know if Steve's aware of it. I don't know if he's got Netflix. But the title of the documentary is Web of Make-Believe. I've actually got it pulled up here so you can see what it looks like. Web of Make-Believe. Death, Lies, and the Internet. And it's a very, very, well, I've only watched 3 episodes out of, I don't know, 6, 7, something like that. 6 episodes. So I've watched the first one, and I've watched the last 2. So this first one is the one that I specifically want to point out to Steve. It has to do with Andrew Finch. So, Steve, if you catch this, if you have Netflix and just haven't seen it, you might want to. If you don't have Netflix, get a hold of me. Earlier I took the liberty to procure a copy of episode 1, just in case, because I figured you may not have Netflix. So, basically, I grabbed you a copy of it. So, if you see this, let me know. If you need a copy of that, let me know, and we'll make that happen. Steve likes to collect video and stuff from just various things throughout the years. He's got quite the collection. So anyway, the other 2 episodes in this that I watched are the last 2, titled The Stingray Part 1 and Part 2, and that has to do with what it sounds like, or may sound like to some of you. It has to do with the Stingray device that members of the U.S. government, all the way from law enforcement all the way up to the CIA, uses to be able to monitor us, basically. I mean, they can do a real-time, complete data grab on any device connected to that mobile network, and you'd never know that you're connected to that network versus whoever it is you're normally connected to. So, very interesting, and the whole situation, the whole case in those last 2 episodes, the Stingray, is very interesting. The name of the series is Web of Make Believe. Right there is what it looks like. Web of Make Believe. So, and it's one of the Netflix series. So, that first episode here, Death by SWAT, Miko Hayes, he used to, I don't know if he still got it open or not, the Daily Hayes. Miko Hayes was the one that was in that, and he did one heck of a job in helping the Andrew Finch family, and man, I'll tell you what, that entire situation is just insane, absolutely insane. So, yeah, I mean, that's. I want to make sure to get a copy of that to Steve. Make sure if you check it out. The second one here is on Seth Rogen, and so I started to watch that but didn't continue, and I have no idea on these other two. One's called I'm Not a Nazi, and the other one's called Sextortion. I don't know. I didn't watch those. But I did watch the Death by SWAT and the Stingray ones because, you know, it's Death of Make Believe. No, it's Web of Make Believe. Web of Make Believe. So, and then the other part is Death Lies on the Internet. But if you remember Web of Make Believe, you'll find it. So. Anyway, aside from that, trying to think if there's really anything else going on, nothing that I can necessarily think of. Just basically, I'm waiting for cooler days. We got cooler days coming. Let's see here. See if I, let's see. Yeah, so tomorrow is supposed to be 81. Oorah. And let's see. Tuesday it's going to get a little steamy. However, I am thinking probably Friday or Saturday. I'm thinking I'm going to set up the tents. I'm going to set up both of them just because they need to air out. And I don't know if I've ever really showed you guys this small tent. It's actually kind of a cool little tent, to tell you the truth. So I'll probably set those up, and I'm not going to do I've already did a video on setting the big tent up, so I'm not going to do another one of those. But I'll probably do some video or whatever of what I'm doing out there. So I don't know. I might camp out in it tonight. I don't know. I do plan on leaving it up overnight just so that it can air out really good. Let's see. Get off of that. Trying to think if there's anything else that I was going to mention to you. Not that I can think of right off the top of my head. Nope. Just like I say, just avoiding the heat and trying to make it through until cooler days. So, and it looks like that will start tomorrow, thank goodness. So, I'll be so happy to be back to keeping the windows open for most of the day. I don't know why, I just hate closing up the windows and being closed up. I hate it. Anyway, can't think anything else. I do have some tabs open as usual, and I figured I would go over this stuff and then get to headlines and be done. I don't know really anything else that I need to cover. It seems like there is something I'm forgetting that I was going to tell you, and that's why I keep kind of stalling the start, but it's not hitting me in the back of the head. So let's go on. And I know it's a bad thing to look at. U.S. Treasury Secretary denies recession. This here says U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has denied that the American economy is in recession, even though a report this week may confirm it by the most common definition, saying the nation is instead going through a necessary and appropriate slowdown. Yellen defended President Joe Biden's economic policies in an NBC News interview on Sunday, arguing that a negative GDP report won't mean that the world's largest economy is in recession. The report is scheduled for release on Thursday, and following the first quarter contraction at an annual rate of 1.6%, the latest data may confirm that the economy is shrinking. 2 straight quarters of economic contraction is typically viewed as a recession, Yellen acknowledged, but she tried to reframe how the trend should be defined. We could see that happen, and that will be closely watched, but I do not want to emphasize what a recession really means is broad-based contraction in the economy, she told host Chuck Todd. Even if that number is negative, we are not in a recession now. It would warn that we should not be characterizing that as a recession. And I would warn that we should, yeah. You know why? Because the dollar is a fiat currency. And I like to, just keep it simple and say it's based on bullshit. And that's the truth. The dollar is based on public confidence, essentially, on how people are spending money, how they feel about spending money. It's based on that. It's not based on a certain figure. It's not based on gold. It's based on how people feel. And anytime people feel like we're in a recession or we're in a slump, they don't typically go out and spend. Right now, people are really... Oh, that reminds me. I forgot to even mention... This is what it was. Duh. I'm such a tard. Hang on. Let me get this. This is what it was. Let me get it. I'm trying to just get it to the image so that we can protect all individuals. Okay, I got it. Let me get it over to you. Here you go, Bob. All right. Somebody that I went to school with, they have a restaurant, and not far from here. It's not in this particular town, but it's not far from here. And he's got a restaurant. And so he had posted this today, and this is his power bill. I had asked him, as you see, it says last payment $2,129.63 to me. And I know he's got a restaurant. I get that part of it. But even that seemed a bit steep to me. And in fact, I guess it was. He said last year he didn't pay anything over $1,800 for a power bill. That's per month, obviously. And again, it's a restaurant, so I get it. I get they're going to have higher bills. But even throwing the $800 or $1,800 limit of last year, even throwing that out and saying, okay, $2,129, that's okay. Holy cow, that's almost that's not far from $1,000 increase in a bill. Not far. That is insane. Well, actually, it's closer to $900, I guess. But that's insane. That is just mind-blowing. And I'm not super good at math, but I would guess that to be, 28%? I don't know. Not super good at math, so. Yikes. That is insane. But now, I didn't think to ask him if that's through, and I don't know if I don't think it's anywhere on here. I didn't think to ask him if that's Ameren or who that is or who, I know where the restaurant is, but I don't know who they pay for power there. I don't know if they have a co-op or something like that. I have no idea. So, we luckily here have not seen, we haven't seen that yet. Not as far as Highland itself is concerned. So, hopefully we don't in the future. So anyway, continuing on to what this says. Yellen, who chaired the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank until then-President Donald Trump declined to appoint her a second term in 2017, argued that because of strong job growth and other favorable data points, the economy isn't in a broad-based decline. However, Todd pointed out that unemployment claims are rising and business activity is slowing, which he suggested might be signs of a coming recession. This is not an economy that's in recession, but we're in a period of transition in which growth is slowing, and that's necessary and appropriate, Yellen said. We need to be growing at a steady and sustainable pace so there is a slowdown, and businesses can see that, and that's appropriate, given that people now have jobs and we have a strong labor market. And I don't know what particular strain of weed she's smoking, but I need to get whacked like that. I mean, seriously, the stuff I got just don't cut it in comparison. Really? I guess we're just good. We're just good to go. Yeah, we do want a sustainable, you would much rather have that slow, steady growth, right? Always. And, the thing of it is, though, there's no growth. And what's blowing my mind is you hear all these reports out there about all these places hiring. But more and more and more I'm hearing people say, look, I put my applications in everywhere. I can't get a call back. And we're not talking about people that aren't qualified. We're not talking about people that are overqualified either. I don't know exactly what is going on. I know that in some places anyway, there are some benefits to running some type of advertisement, even if it is an advertisement for employment. I believe that there used to be, and probably still is, tax benefits for that, and who knows, they may have other types of programs right now going on that people are trying to get in on some type of money for whatever, I don't know, but maybe they have to prove that they've been trying to find work or something like that. Businesses have done that kind of stuff for a very long time. And, they've always done this trick and that trick in order to get this tax break, then that tax break. And advertising is usually a large part of that. I don't think we're growing. I'm not quite sure what I'm seeing happen. To be real honest, it's almost like we're withering. We're wilting. It is mind-blowing. And then when you take into consideration what I just showed you, things like that power bill, that's going to even further wither the economy of this nation. And I'm still in firm belief this is no accident. At this particular point in time, it's not a matter of these small businesses had just had a bad run for the last few years. Our government's trying to ground their face into the pavement until there's nothing left. I feel for these folks. I do. I do. We have got one hell of a road ahead. And the longer it takes to just fall, the worse it's going to be. Not good. Not good. And then, the vote's not going to fix this. I said that long ago, that this country was too far gone. I was saying that before Trump even took office. This country is too far gone. If you couldn't tell that in 2008, you'll probably never be able to tell that. You'll probably never be able to make that call. if you couldn't tell from 2008 that there was just absolutely no way that this country could ever become solvent, then you're just willingly denying reality. So now that we got that out of the way, it doesn't matter who gets in office in 2024. All it is a shell game. And like I've said before, the shell game is stopped when they decide the shell game stops. Not a moment before and not a moment after. When they decide that the shell game stops, it stops. Because that's truly what it is. They're the ones that control everything. They're the ones that control the printing presses. So when they say stop, that means stop. But as long as they keep that sucker printing, one way or another, they'll get that money out through the system to be able to keep people at least alive. Well, not everybody, but some. And that's what I'm saying. The longer this is drug out, the worse it's going to be. On all aspects. And I still heavily suspect that the nations, most of them, are working together, lockstep, to do this. That this is going to be the one world currency, the one world government bid. I'm convinced of that. Because it fits. The puzzle fits. Or the puzzle piece, whatever. Well, anyway, moving on from that, we got Jackass here. Yeah, I'll call him Jackass. You can call him by his name. I'll call him Jackass. A top U.S. general warns of more aggressive China. Jackass. America's top general is sounding an alarm over the Chinese military, saying it has become increasingly aggressive in encounters with other military forces operating in the Asia-Pacific region, making itself a greater threat to the U.S. and its allies. The message is the Chinese military in the air and at sea have become significantly more and noticeably more aggressive in this particular region, U.S. Army General Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said on Sunday during a visit to Indonesia. Intercepts of the U.S. and Allied aircraft and ships by Chinese forces have increased significantly over the past 5 years, Milley said. The number of such interactions deemed unsafe by the Pentagon has escalated similarly. The general recently ordered his staff to compile a report detailing interactions between Chinese forces and the U.S. and its allies in the region. In one such incident just last month, a Chinese J-16 jet pilot allegedly endangered the crew of an Australian surveillance plane in international airspace over the South China Sea. The pilot allegedly cut in front of the plane and released a bundle of chaff containing small pieces of aluminum, some of which were sucked into the engine of the Australian aircraft. U.S. officials have increasingly raised concerns over China's military and foreign policy, including its refusal to join in sanctioning Russia over the Ukraine crisis. Just last month, U.S. Air Force Major General lamented that Beijing is building an arsenal of weapons 5 to 6 times faster than Washington and is doing so at dramatically lower cost. He argued that China's geopolitical ambitions are an existential threat to our way of life, to the freedoms that our kids may or may not enjoy. Beijing has pushed back. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Lijian told reporters last week that the U.S. instigated the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Chinese officials have also accused Washington of raising tensions in Asia-Pacific, including meddling with Taiwan, which Beijing considers a breakaway province. So, no, I'm hearing a hum. Sounds like it's coming from... Maybe not. I've got headphones on. I don't know where the hell I'm hearing it from. but I don't think... Hang on. I don't know. It might be Jen's computer. I've got hearing problems, for those that don't know. So... let's see. So, anyway, above and beyond this, as you know, there's been a lot of added pressure about some trip that Pelosi wants to take to Taiwan. And China's been having quite a bit to say about it. And now they are warning. Well, that's pretty much what they've been doing the entire time, actually. China warns a military response to Pelosi's Taiwan trip. And I'm not sure what FT is. China has reportedly raised the stakes in its row with Washington over U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's planned trip to Taiwan. Wow. Saying it may respond militarily if the California Democrat goes through with the visit. So, naturally, you know, most true-blooded red Americans, or true red-blooded Americans, something to that effect, are encouraging her. So, in fact, I don't know, you guys want to pitch in? Cover the airfare or something? I mean... the latest warnings were privately issued to members of President Joe Biden's administration, the Financial Times reported on Sunday, citing 6 unidentified people familiar with the matter. The statement was significantly stronger than the warnings that Chinese officials have given in the past over controversial U.S. actions or policies decisions related to Taiwan. Pelosi is reportedly scheduled to visit Taipei next month in what would be the first trip by a House Speaker to the breakaway republic since 1997. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Lijian said last Tuesday that Pelosi's trip would have a grave impact on U.S.-China ties. If the U.S. were to insist on going down the wrong path, China will take resolute and strong measures to safeguard its sovereignty and territorial integrity. All the ensuing consequences shall be borne by the U.S. side. Chinese officials have also argued that a visit to Taipei by such a high-level representative as House Speaker Pelosi would be next in line in the Oval Office if neither the president nor vice president were able to serve, would violate the U.S. One China policy, under which Washington acknowledges Beijing's claim to sovereignty over Taiwan. On Friday, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin reiterated Beijing's vow to take strong countermeasures, adding, "We mean what we say." The Pentagon apparently sees Pelosi's planned trip as problematic. Pressed on the issue by reporters last Wednesday, Biden replied, "I think that the military thinks it's not a good idea right now, but I don't know what the status of it is." Why are we relying on any information that comes from him? Pelosi told reporters on Thursday that Biden hadn't raised any concern directly with her. "I think what the president was saying is maybe the military was afraid our plane would get shot down or something like that by the Chinese," she said. All right. But anyway, if anybody wants to chip in, we'll help cover the airfare for Ms. Pelosi to fly over to Taiwan. She needs a vacation. Let's give her a vacation. Do we get to pick the airspaces that she flies through on the way? Please? That'd be fun. Alright, Congressman gives update on HIMARS shipments to Kiev. Now, I'm keeping a running track, or I'm trying to. You know, that's going to be impossible. Like, they ain't going to tell us half the information. But I'm trying to keep a running tally. Because, let's not forget that the Ukrainian dictator, Zelensky, has demanded 100 HIMARS systems. Remember that? And that sounded like such a huge contrast to the 12 that we had already given them. And then they sent them, 8 more? I think they just sent them 8 more. Okay, so that would put us at like 20, right? And holy crap, The United States and its Western allies intend to provide Ukraine with additional 25 to 30 rocket systems. Are you keeping up now? The head of the Armed Forces Committee of the U.S. House of Representatives revealed on Saturday. That will include both high-mobility artillery rocket systems and multiple launch rocket systems from the UK and some other countries, Smith said in an interview with Radio Liberty. The committee chair admitted that the number of weapons is lower than what Kiev had requested, well, yeah, for now, but offered assurance that the U.S. and its partners will provide as much artillery and missiles for the systems as possible. Smith made the announcement following his visit to Kiev last week, in which he and several other members of Congress met with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, Andrei Yermak, Zelensky's chief of staff, and Sunday that the logistics of delivering the ammunition for the Western MLRS is key for the effective use of the launchers on various sectors of the front. Following the meeting with Zelensky, the American delegation issued a statement pledging to continue to seek ways to support President Zelensky and the Ukrainian people as effectively as possible. Ahead of the gathering, the Ukrainian president wrote on Telegram that his country especially needs HIMARS launcher systems, shells, and unmanned aerial vehicles. Earlier in July, Ukrainian Defense Minister Alexei Reznikov said that Kiev needed about 50 HIMARS systems for effective defense and at least 100 for an effective counteroffensive. As of July 22nd, the U.S. provided 16 HIMARS systems to Ukraine. Overall security assistance to the country since the launch of the Russian offensive in late February has amounted to $7.6 billion. Yeah. Last week, the Russian military claimed that in a period between July 5th and 20th, it had destroyed 4 of the U.S. supplied systems in Ukraine. One U.S. official who spoke to Reuters on condition of anonymity insisted that no HIMARS launchers sent to Ukraine had been destroyed. Meanwhile, the government in Kiev has accused Moscow of spreading misinformation calculated to dissuade the West from sending Ukraine more weapons. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, Ukraine has lost over 760 multiple launch rocket systems and more than 3,100 artillery pieces since the beginning of Russia's military operation. Moscow has repeatedly warned the West against sending weapons to Kiev, saying that this would only prolong the conflict, increase the number of casualties, and lead to long-term consequences. That's a fact. But you watch. I guarantee you, before all is said and done, he'll have that 100 launch systems and probably more. It's crazy. They do this every time. If you let them, you hear the saying, and I know it's cliche, you give an inch, they'll take a mile. It's true. They do it every single time. And just like I say that we need to start telling these people with these wacko ideologies that they want to force on the entire planet, no. Same thing. It's not a new concept, okay? If I were to tell you that the U.S. government was supposed to fear the people, that's not a new concept. This nation was founded on that ideal. Founded. That the government should fear you. All this goes away when we make that happen. It is the most mind-blowing thing to me that we can have 350 or so million people in this nation. We can fill baseball stadiums, football stadiums. Fill them. But we can't seem to amass the people to demand being heard beyond small groups here and there. And in comparison to, small groups. And I know once in a while there's a big rally, but tell me what you get done. Nothing. You know why? Because they're still there. Nothing's going to happen until they're removed. Period. And it's going to take all of them. It's not about one side or the other side. No. You got to get rid of them all. All of them. You need to get rid of every single sitting person in government right now and ban them for running for re-election. You're done. And if you happen to be somebody that was good, that's just tough titty. Hey, what if we all had to just deal with and be told, oh, well, life's not fair? And we need to put in term limits, including and especially for judges, all judges. We need to put this country back into the 3 separate entities that the founding fathers intended it. Without doing that, if you don't do that, there ain't no system, no nothing that you're going to do to be able to return back to what this country was founded to be. You have to isolate those 3 entities. What is it? The judicial, the legislative, and the administrative. You have to break those apart. You can't let them be in bed with one another. But we're so far out of whack now, like I say, it would take a complete clean out. You would have to clean out the entirety of the U.S. government. Everything from town mayors to anything, you know? Let me go ahead and move on to the night. This is just going to get worse. And it's probably going to wind up being a full-scale war. Swiss warned of possible winter blackouts. I think a lot of people's going to be getting those types of warnings come this winter. Switzerland has developed an emergency plan in the event of an energy crisis if natural gas and electricity supplies run short. The Basler Zeitung newspaper reported this week, and I'm sure I said that wrong. According to the paper, the Swiss government has been working in tandem with industrial companies for several months on the plan, and includes several steps, ranging from a public awareness campaign with calls for energy saving, such as turning off shop window lights and heaters, to rationing electricity for about 30,000 large energy consumers. The government also warns of the possibility of power shutdowns in certain areas of the country from 4 to 8 hours a day as a more stringent measure. The plan will be put into action in the event of a shortage of electricity. The head of the Association of Swiss Electricity Companies, Michael Frank, told the outlet. You have to imagine this as a puzzle. Individual segments would be cut off for 4 hours and then turned back on while others are cut off. Some parts of the network, the pieces of the puzzle, would have no power for 4 hours, then have power again for 4 or 8 hours, depending on the situation, Frank said. Another part covers saving gas. Government experts estimate that calls to curb consumption would reduce gas use by 5%. The plan also offers a transition for businesses to run on oil products instead of gas where possible. The government estimates these measures could reduce consumption by as much as 20%. Another step suggests limiting the temperature in public buildings and offices. So, I mean, it's not going to get better. I don't think so. And I don't think that this is just necessarily a particular slump that we're in just for the moment. Oh, God, I don't want to say these words. I really do not want to say these words, but they are the correct words to say. I believe that this is just one more of many new normals. I really do. And I think it's going to get worse. I don't think we're even remotely seeing the worst of it. I don't know how folks are going to do it. I don't. And I made a video. I don't remember when I made that video. Let me look. Because believe me, I check on myself. I put out a video. Oh, that's live. No wonder. I made a video on. Where's the date? The 17th. So, a week ago, I made a video, and it was about how I think we got about 2 months, the American people, to be able to keep pushing forward before there's just nothing left to push. And I think we're still on schedule for that. And I think that the situation with the power, with that business, I think that's very reflective of what's happening to many people in the nation right now. From my understanding, power bills are up pretty much everywhere in the United States. Drastically up. As you know, gas and just about any other costs are up. It's a good thing we stocked up on coffee. Because I can't even... You can get coffee. You know how much you have to pay to get... Like, for the thing of coffee I get, Folgers, 100% Colombian. They're what, 43 ounce or something, the big container? Oh, wait, I might have the 37. I think they have 3 sizes. I think I have the 37. I'd have to look. Anyway. Yikes. You gotta pay $25 for one thing of coffee. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Chicken. Normally, we get like 5 pounds of chicken, just the boneless chicken breasts a month. That's normally what we'll get. And I can't do that. We couldn't even afford it. We got half that. We got 2.5 pounds. We didn't have enough to go ahead and get the rest. And believe me, there was a bunch of other stuff too that we either lessened up on or didn't get at all. And it's insane. I do not understand how folks are going to make it for a whole lot longer. Because it's everything. Every direction. And we got this going on. I don't know what to think of it. I'm just going to read it to you, and you can think about it what you want. St. Louis area Boeing workers vote to authorize strike. Workers at 3 Boeing locations in St. Louis have authorized a strike. Member of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, District 837, voted to authorize the strike Sunday after also voting to reject a contract offer from Boeing. The strike is set to start August 1st if a deal is not reached before then. IAM Local 837 released the following statement about the vote that said in part, "Our members have spoken loudly and with one voice. We reject Boeing's current contract offer and will strike at all 3 St. Louis area locations starting at 12:01 a.m. on Monday, August 1st, 2022. We cannot accept a contract that is not fair and equitable, as this company continues to make billions of dollars each year off the backs of our hardworking members. Boeing previously took away a pension from our members, and now the company is unwilling to adequately compensate our members' 401k plan. We will not allow this company to put our members' hard-earned retirements in jeopardy." Boeing also released a statement about the strike vote. Boeing is disappointed with Sunday's vote to reject a strong, highly competitive offer. We are activating our contingency plan to support continuity of operations in the event of a strike. Bring on the scabs. No, I had to. I couldn't resist. Couldn't resist. Hey, I'm one of those. I don't care. I believe in freedom. How's that? Yeah, freedom. Hey, if you want to be union, Right on. You don't want to be union? Right on. I've been both. Right on. It is what it is. I am not going to pick a side of that fence, and because we need both. And largely, in my opinion, one of the biggest downfalls that the American workers have had have been the destruction of the unions. I absolutely don't believe that everything should be all union. I believe it should be, I think they need to keep each other in balance. I think a good 50-50 balance, or rough, close to that, is wonderful. There is benefits, there's drawbacks, but, to being in a union. But at the same time, the unions that used to be are no longer. There are no more good unions. There are no more good unions. They're all gone. And it's sad. It truly is sad. Again, it's one of those things to where a good balance is necessary to keep everything in check. And that it did. I mean, unions in the labor movement are what made this nation such a prosperous place. Plain and simple. If the employees weren't making the money to be able to go out on their own and build on their own, this nation wouldn't have grown like it did. But people made enough money and were willing to reinvest that money, not just in themselves, not just into a business, but into this nation. And for decades were highly rewarded for their efforts and their hard work. And that has been slowly chipped away at. And there's almost nothing left. Again, I'm not saying that unions are good or bad or indifferent. In fact, more than anything, probably indifferent to an extent. You know what I mean? Wow. Yeah, see, even that's high, dude. But that's classic roast. But even that's high. $12.98, $13 for, and that's Sam's. I mean, wow. Yeah, even that's high. In my opinion, I think it is. I think I was paying for the big things of 100% Colombian, before things got stupid. Well, before coffee got expensive, because coffee stayed the normal price for a long time. 9 something, I think it was, for that big container of it. So, yeah, it's gotten crazy. Let's see. Okay, I believe that's the tabs I have open. Have a sip of coffee and uh-oh. What? Did I not have my... That's it. Somebody's gonna get shanked up in here. I don't know. I guess I didn't have my e-cig when I sat down for the show. Hang on, I gotta go with my little baby. I need to put it on the charger. That reminds me. It's an Orion DNA, if anybody's wondering. Well, it's not. It's the Orion Plus. Yeah. I lost vape. Paid like $70 for that damn thing. Piece of crap. Oh, you gotta have that one. That's why I warn you guys about that stuff. Especially when you got, like, prepper channels out there and stuff, encouraging you to buy this, that, and the other thing. Especially when they're high dollar items. that doesn't mean they're good. I'm telling you, the Lost Vape Orion Plus was like one of those deals where everybody wanted one. And I mean, the device itself is kind of neat. It's kind of nice. It's nice and compact and stuff like that, but the coils don't last. And the reason why this thing ain't vaping worth the crap is because it needs the coil replaced. Reckon I ought to do that tonight. Maybe before I go to bed. Got the coils right there. I don't know how many of those coils I got. I got to be whittling them down. The only time I use this is for bed. Because it doesn't, I don't have my other one here. It doesn't sit there and go pop, 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 pop as I'm vaping on it while she's trying to sleep. Okay. Hang on. Oops. Yeah, that might not work well. Trying to shove a USB-C in a micro USB may not work too well. Okay, sorry for the delay. Well, not really, but hey, gotta have my break. It's in the contract. Alright. Let's do some headlines, starting with what I put out on Friday. Amazon seeks to reinvent healthcare. Russia taking all measures to deliver food in Africa, says Foreign Minister. A New York governor hopeful attacked on stage. That was mind-blowing. Okay, so dude gets attacked on stage. Fortunately for him, he was able to subdue the attacker long enough for other people that were there to get the man apprehended. So what do? Okay, this guy, he had like, they used to sell these things, they called them cat something, I can't remember, and it was kind of like brass knuckles, and it had like cat ears on it, so it had like 2 points that stuck out. And I couldn't get a real good look at what this guy had in his hand, what the weapon actually was, but it was something very similar to that, and it had 2 points that came out, and it might have been one of those cat things. They even had them on Facebook in the ads for a while. Anyway, so fortunately, like I said, he was unsuccessful in his attack. They were able to apprehend him, and what do? Let him out on his own recognizance. He assaulted and was essentially trying to kill, and I believe he's a sitting representative. I believe he's currently sitting. But he's also going for, I believe he's going up against that Holchel for governor. And they released him on his own recognizance. That is just stunning to me. And then, fortunately, and I'm assuming that it's still at this stage, I guess the federal government decided to press charges on him. Hello Kitty Knuckles, okay, thank you. Cat Claws, okay. Yeah, and I, last I knew, there were federal charges brought up on him, and he was, as far as I know, rearrested. One of the biggest key things you want to watch for in the fall of a nation is just an absolute rampant amount of injustice or misjustice. And I know we've been seeing it for a while, but now it's reaching levels that, I mean, you have a sitting president that has broken the law. He should have been arrested. Biden has directly violated the Constitution of the United States. He should have been arrested long ago. The first time he ignored the Supreme Court and went around the Supreme Court, he should have been arrested. Nothing gives him power to do that. But then you got his son, who can seemingly do about anything and walk away. And I know we've dealt with this type of stuff for years. I mean, look at how long Hillary's been in the picture. Look at how long Bill's been in the picture. But this is a totally new level. And it's not only involving the upper echelon of the United States, but now it's down on our streets too. And I think we're watching this nation unravel, and I think it's going to unravel quick, because I think that injustice is going to get more solidified. And I think it's really going to start hitting on the base of the local levels. It's crazy. Anyway, China finds ride share firm $1.2 billion. U.S. sees surge of jobless claims. A U.S. comedian canceled over LGBTQ comments. Germans want Belarusians kicked out. Ukraine should confiscate Russian gas, says a politician. EU avoids sanctions on Russian titanium, says Wall Street Journal. Sri Lankan protest camp is raided. Again, these are things I put out Friday. Ukraine to remove mines blocking grain ships, says New York Times. Russia adds 5 more states to unfriendly list. Never-before-seen outtakes from Trump's January 7th address revealed. A kickboxer jailed for 4 years after Moscow shooting. Berlin warns against waving a white flag at Russia. Russia slashes key interest rate. Donbass republics ban Google. Russia destroys base of Ukrainian Black 100 unit, says the Ministry of Defense. A deal is struck on Ukraine grain exports. U.S. lawmakers accuse Russia of genocide. Russia won't supply oil to price cap participants, says head of the central bank. Inflation fuels Paris Olympics funding fears, says media. U.S. border cop sentenced for helping drug dealers. Berlin buys stake in energy major to keep it from going bust. Ukrainian sailors trained in Scotland to fight Russia. Fate of dollar in Russia revealed. Japan sounds alarm over Ukraine and Taiwan. Moldova calls for withdrawal of Russian troops from Transnistria. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. U.S. has first polio case in nearly a decade. Climate activists' largest Botticelli painting, or target. Where did I say that? Largest? I don't know how the hell I saw that. Climate activists target Botticelli painting. Ukraine's International Legion suffers recruit shortage. Ukrainian official from Zelensky's alleged ban list denied entry. Russia warns about dangers to the Arctic. Tobacco giant to quit Russia. No more Marlboro Man. Zelensky refuses peace talks. Twitter blames Elon Musk for revenue decline. Former Trump strategist found guilty. The U.S. sends more weapons to Ukraine. UK grounds fighter jets over safety issues. Ukraine to punish own citizens for getting Russian passports. Russia claimed it destroyed HIMARS. Gubernatorial candidate's attacker released without bail. That's what I was talking about. U.S. confirms first monkeypox cases in children. EU country jails Russian trucker. Wait a minute. Back up. In children? Remind me again what community that the monkeypox is spreading among? And there are children that are catching it? We might want to look into that. Secret papers found in German leader's trash, says media. Pentagon widens scope of UFO hunting unit. U.S. factory accused of using child labor. Booze manufacturers to sell business in Russia. Oh, we started yesterday's news. Ah, that means coffee. You know, I didn't do this because this would be totally unprofessional. I didn't do that. So, I left it all the way back in the bathroom. And, so, Blue's laying on the bed. I go running in there. She can tell I have a sense of urgency. She's looking at me like, who we gotta go kill, right? I, come running back in. And I mean, she is on my butt. And I mean, it was funny because she's standing here like, okay, now what? It's all right, kid. Okay, let me have a vape. I worked hard for this. Got the dog all up in a tizzy. By the way, that's the popping sound that I use the other one for to avoid. I'm sure that sounds good when you're trying to sleep. Anyway, so I'd read a couple already from yesterday. Middle Eastern. Now I got my headset all screwed up and can't hear right. Middle Eastern oil exports to EU surge, says Bloomberg. Hungary wants EU to come clean on Russian gas. Liz Truss claims to be an insurgent. Kiev reveals planned volume of grain exports by sea. Japan to bar Putin from former PM Abe's funeral, says media. Russia announces plan for bond market. Millionaire PM candidate ready to put government on crisis footing. Erdogan's photo with Putin branded challenge to NATO. EU member resumes sanctioned goods transit. That was Lithuania that was holding it up for so long. Ukraine's intel chief peddles Putin look-alike theory. Biden aide reveals how U.S. plans to battle gasoline prices. Zelensky makes claim about Ukraine's combat losses. EU eases sanctions on Russian oil exports. U.S. concerned about Zelensky's safety. Orban warns of new world order. Monkeypox spread declared global emergency. Ukraine claims Russia targeted major port city. Scottish cricket found to be institutionally racist, says media. Google sacks engineer who alleged sentient AI. Scandal-plagued UK PM trains with Ukrainian troops. East St. Louis advises people to stay at home after chemical spill. Yeah, that was, they did get the all clear. I never did. Hang on. I don't know if they ever said what it was. I'm sure they probably have. I didn't go back and look, although I was very curious. Hang on. Just come on with it. What was it? Huh. Yeah, so they never did even say what it was. That's kind of concerning. They never did even say what it was. Huh. I figured by now they would have that information, but apparently not. Oh, okay. Right on. Yeah, dude, if you can't leave a link in the comments, because I think I disabled that, either send it to me or email it to me or however. Yeah, because I wanna see that. Turkey issues update on Ukrainian grain exports. Trump sees one way to end persecution against him. Israeli spy network exposed, says reports. Let's see. Saudi man helps Jewish reporter sneak into Mecca and gets arrested. China may have used Huawei to disrupt American nukes, says CNN. And by the way, that is kind of uncool to do that. That's one thing I ask. If, just respect, as long as it's not harming somebody else, just respect if whatever that belief wants, right? As long as it's not harming anybody else. If they don't want you filming, if they don't want you, if they don't want you there for their ceremonies and rituals or whatever, because you're not a part of that community or tribe or that belief or whatever, that needs to be respected. And as long as they aren't harming anyone, it ain't a damnbody else's business what they're doing, as long as they're not harming anyone. It's just, it is what it is. So, I've got kind of mixed emotions on that, but I absolutely believe as long as nobody's being harmed, that it should be respected. Let's see. China may have used Huawei to disrupt American nukes, says CNN. Parents and their child killed in U.S. shooting. A heavy storm batter Russian resort. Turkey berates NATO applicant over terrorist propaganda, says reports. Feds rearrest U.S. congressman's attacker. That's what I was talking about earlier. China comments on safety of COVID-19 vaccines. And now we are to this morning's stuff. Let me have another drink and a couple of vapes. The home stretch. Definitely got to remember to change my coil tonight. That one sucks. I wonder where my Sherb is. That's what I really want. I want to vape some Sherb. Sherb. Jimmy the Juice Man Sherb. I've got some somewhere. I know I got more left. I just don't know where. Sherb. Tastes like sherbet ice cream. Oh my goodness, is it good. What I got in there now is called worms. It's like sour gummies. It's good stuff too. All right. China blasts Japan's radioactive water plan. Macron tells Iran to make a clear choice. Oops. Let's see. Swiss warned of possible... Oh, I covered that one. A Ukraine deal will help Russian exports, says the UN. Ah. That was quick. Let's see. Already got the email. Let's see. Trump slams U.S. aid to Ukraine. China's domestic Boeing rival nearly ready. Hungary spreading Russian propaganda, says Ukraine. Russia explains strike on major Ukrainian port. Moscow reveals target of strike on key Ukrainian port. Yuan lands major success against Euro. EU announces plan for Russian gas substitute. Cricket Scotland board resigns ahead of racism report. It's crazy. Ukrainian commander reports more deaths of foreign fighters. There were some U.S. fighters included in that. Russia not asking for sanctions removal, says Lavrov. U.S. comments on designating Russia a terrorism sponsor. Turkey's Russia stance irritates Biden, says New York Times. You know what else irritates Biden? Bicycles. Bicycles irritate Biden. You know what else irritates Biden? Invisible people. Invisible people. They just get them every time. Trump weighs in on gender debate. Grave of Ukraine's Nazi hero is defaced in Germany. Ukraine's neighbor eyes strongest NATO army in Europe. Let's see. I am targeted by top foreign intelligence, says EU candidate state minister. Ukrainian governor suspects everybody of helping Russia. Media discovers Boris Johnson's ambition. Israel warns Moscow about consequences amid Jewish agency row. White House doctor explains Biden's deep voice. And I thought of that, and the only thing I could think of was the code name Deep Throat. I know, sick mind I have. Al Gore likens climate change to school shooting. Thought that was kind of stupid. And then there's another one up here. U.S. officials voice DNA biowarfare fears. Wow. Okay, let me tweet this, and then we're going to have to check this out before we go for the night. It says biosamples gathered by various DNA testing services could be sold and used to develop bioweapons specifically tailored to target certain groups or even individuals. U.S. lawmakers have claimed at the Aspen Security Forum, echoing concerns long voiced by Russian officials. Now look, we were talking about this not that long ago. Right here on this channel, we were talking about concerns of that, especially from what it was looking like China was doing. And it looked like China was trying to get Americans' DNA, which they were highly successful in doing so. And we did have discussions about whether or not that could be used in order to target specific groups of individuals, nationalities, and stuff like that, because you absolutely can. You can target individuals just by their gut bacteria. So you absolutely can target individuals with bioweapons. There's no two ways about it. And we had to kind of dance on the subject back when we talked about it, because of course if you said anything that went beyond what the narrative was, you'd get in trouble. So we kind of had to dance around it, but we did talk about it. And it has never not been a concern. Well, continuing on with what this says, I got a quote here. There are now weapons under development and developed that are designed to target specific people. U.S. Representative Jason Crow, a member of the House Intelligence Committee, said in Colorado on Friday. That's what this is, where you can actually take someone's DNA, take their medical profile, and you can target a biological weapon that will kill that person or just take them off the battlefield or make them inoperable. Given that threat, Crow added, it's troubling that expectations of privacy for personal data have diminished over the past 20 years to the point that young people have very little expectation of privacy and readily give their data to private companies such as DNA testing services. People will very rapidly spit into a cup and send it to 23andMe and get really interesting data about their background, Crow said, and guess what? Their DNA is now owned by a private company, and it can be sold off with very little intellectual property protection or privacy protection. He added that the U.S. will need to create new guidelines for protection of personal health data, including DNA, because that data is actually going to be procured and collected by our adversaries for the development of these systems. Moscow had been warning about the dangers of uncontrolled gathering of DNA samples for years, with President Vladimir Putin stating back in 2017 that according to Russian intelligence services, biological samples were being harvested purposely and professionally all over Russia by various NGOs and other organizations for obscure purposes. Since then, the Pentagon has significantly expanded its research potential not only in the field of creating biological weapons, but also obtaining information about antibiotic resistance and the presence of antibodies to certain diseases in populations of specific regions, Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov, the head of the Russian Radiation, Chemical, and Biological Protection Force, said in May. So, this is clearly something that we need to consider, something that we need to look at and keep in the back of our heads. All of our heads should be on a swivel right now for just about anything. And, just use your ability to think independently, to make important decisions in a time frame that will matter. That's imperative. That's imperative. Bear was talking on I believe it was a live stream the other day, and he was talking about, somebody had, I guess, one of the questions they wanted answered or whatever is, the balloon goes up. How do we continue getting your content, more or less, right? How do we continue to have, even if it's one way, that communication? Which it just blew my mind that there were folks out there that were even considering that, even concerned with that or thinking about that. Folks, and he said this as well, not verbatim, but the whole point of this, of what he's doing, is to make individuals more independent, more self-sustainable, more self-reliable. You should never be in a situation to where you have to wait to see what somebody else wants to do, especially in a situation that involves your personal protection. You need to have these plans made. You need to know what it is that you're going to do. You know? I mean, I know what I would try to do. We don't have enough of the right kind of tape to do it. We've got packing tape, better than nothing, and we're kind of limited on that. But we do have one hell of a roll of plastic, and, you know, that is for the very purpose of being able to seal off windows, doors, and stuff like that. We just need to get the tape. We never have been able to get the tape. That's not cheap, especially, you know, duct tape is what you need, and duct tape ain't that cheap. But anyway, and you want good stuff. You don't want Dollar Tree stuff. You want good stuff. Anyway, just be prepared. Be prepared. Be ready for stuff like this, right? Can't say that there's necessarily any damn thing you're going to be able to do, because whatever it is that is done could be done to the water system. It could be done to foods at a particular location, at a particular grocery store or something. Somebody could go along and contaminate foods. It's not like it hasn't happened before. Just always been an isolated kind of a, you know what I mean? Not a terrorist event that I know of. I don't know of any instances that would be deemed a terrorist event when it comes to the contamination of food, but there may have been. Head on a swivel and be prepared to act. That's my best advice for you. Don't rely on anybody to tell you when to start. You need to know that yourself. You need to know when to start and what to do on your own. I have long said that I will do everything I can to put out the very latest warning possible before things go dark. All I can do is try, because I don't know the time or the hour. I don't even know the method. All I can do is try. But don't wait for it. Be ready to act on your own. That's the most important thing. Anyway, I am going to boogie on out and get to bed. I never seem like I get that sleep that, I don't know, I just don't. I haven't in a long time. So I'm always tired. But anyway, I'm going to get out of here. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow, and I hope to see you then. Hope you all have a good night. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.